Guys, hello, welcome back to another video. I know it's been a while, but the only thing that has delayed this video for being from coming out sooner is my voice, which has been ravaged by sickness, but I've coated it with delicious ice cream and shit like that, so hopefully I'll hold up while I do a review of this book, which is Blood of Elves by Andrzej Sapkowski, which is a name no doubt by now you'll be familiar with if you've been following this channel for any length of time. Andrzej Sapkowski is the creator of the Witcher series, and Blood of Elves is the first book in the sort of main saga, as it were, following off the heels of two short story collections, which is The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny, which you can check out reviews and discussions for on this channel if you've not already done so. So I guess we should really talk about what this one is about. Blood of Elves follows off basically where the Sword of Destiny left off, with Geralt now in sort of ownership, I guess is the weird way to put it. It's not sort of ownership, but he's become the guardian for Princess Cirilla of Sintra, which is a nation which has been sacked by the evil Nilfgaardian Empire for reasons as of yet unknown. He is now training this girl in the arts of being a witcher, but unfortunately girls have never been trained as witches before, and so Geralt is left in a series of trials and tribulations as he attempts to navigate the waters of surrogate parenthood, as well as unraveling mysterious conspiracy to do something of nefarious purposes to his new ward. So that is what this book is about, and I will be frank straight off the bat, this was a 5-star read for me. This was actually, when I originally read it, was a 4-star read. I don't know why I rated it, I knocked it down a star back in the day. I think it was just because there was a few things in there that I thought didn't flow very well, and I didn't quite grasp, but I have a feeling that might be to do with sort of my level of reading at that time. I'd only just sort of started reading again seriously at that point, and I was reading it on Kindle as well then, and not in a paper book, and I think that might have hindered some of my comprehension in a way, but I'm happy to say that those kinks, I definitely didn't see them this time round. This novel is pretty much perfection. It's like it's starting off on the perfect foot for this series going forward. The main thing really to highlight in terms of the writing style is just how funny it is. This is as dark as it can get, as grim as the subject matter can be. Sapkowski has this amazing dry, wry humor about everything. Like there's always this level of cynical, like, sarcasm underneath everything. Geralt he's always funny. I think that's one of the main things people will take away from Geralt's character. Even though he's this super broody, serious monster hunter guy, he will never pass up the opportunity to sarcastically rib someone. There's a great scene with Geralt on a barge, and like the whole thing is it's just hugely funny, with all the different characters at interplay there. Like Geralt's having this sparring match of intellects between a guy from a university who has studied animals, and Geralt's like, well, you know, they're just ancient monsters, mate, like that's what they're called. And it's really hard to describe because it sounds so dry, but it's actually so funny when you read it, just the way it is played off. Speaking of the characters, of course, Sapkowski has always done a great job with characters. Geralt here is fantastic. His struggles in raising Ciri, not only as raising a child at all, but in raising a girl, which is something him and the other witches have never done before. There's some great sort of comedy of errors sort of stuff going on there, where they're desperately trying to raise them the only way they really know how, and then they get in Triss Merigold, who's like a sorceress, and she's there like, what the fuck have you done? You guys don't know what you're doing, and like they all have to just hold their hands up, like, you know what, you're right, we have no idea, and it's just brilliant. And Ciri as a character as well. I talked about this in my strong female characters video, but Ciri is one of those characters who is so adorably precocious at all times. She's a princess from a land that no longer exists, but she was raised as a princess until the age of about 10. So she's got those graces and airs, but she lives in the muck with the rest of the peasants. But she won't let you forget sort of who she really is, even though she can't really say. There's always that thing under the surface. There are so many great moments in this book that I would love to talk about in huge detail, and I will in my next video. But for the spoiler-free review, just know that it's super funny. Sapkowski's intelligent, like it's almost satire of global politics in a way. In a lot of the parts here, there's definitely ribbing of the intellectual elitism. There's definitely just all of this great stuff in there that is, I can't discuss in detail, and I really want to. But yeah, it's really good. Like, the mystery plot is not the strongest. Like, the through line of the plot is Geralt has to, like, he's raising Ciri, and then there's this guy called Rience who's basically after her. The intrigue on that side of things is not as strong as all of the character moments and things, but I think it's not really about that, and the series as a whole isn't really about the overarching plot. Like, the world-ending conspiracy is not a huge deal to the overall plot of the series going forward. Obviously it drives the characters forward, and that's why it's there, and that's why it's relevant. But I think if you're not going into it expecting this big world-shaking story, you won't really be disappointed by that. It's just there to service the plot, and it does a good job. It's not anything special, but it's not terrible either. It's like there's no plot holes or anything like that. I think the villains, Rience is kind of weak because he's sort of a non-presence, but he does, when he is present, he is quite menacing. There is a worry that Geralt is so powerful that he can just defeat threats that come up against him, and that is why I think it works that there's it's like a conspiracy mystery plot, because that's not something Geralt can stab with a sword, which makes it much harder for him to combat. My voice is sort of giving out on me for this review, and I don't really have a huge amount to say. I think by the time you've got to this book, if you've read the other two and you didn't like either of them, then you'll know whether or not to carry on with the series. If you did sort of enjoy one and maybe didn't enjoy the others, or you did enjoy one, then maybe just give it a go, because it has a very different feel from the short story collection, because it is definitely a beginning of a longer story. Like, it seems obvious to say because it's the first in a series, but there is definitely a lot of seeds planted here that are paid off so much later on in the saga, that I think if you didn't like the short story format, then give this one a go. And if this really doesn't work for you, then don't carry on with the series, obviously. But if it does, then that's great, because I think you're in for a treat down the road. Now I'm going to cut here, and I'm going to do another video. You're getting 2 videos in one day because it's been a while since I've uploaded. I'm going to do my discussion. So if you've read The Blood of Elves by Andrzej Sapkowski, then you feel free to watch that as well. And if not, hopefully this has encouraged you to check it out. So that was it for me, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.